All right, so you want to apply for graduate school. This is a big decision. Congratulations. There's a long journey in front of you, and hopefully, we can talk about some tips and tricks to allow for you to feel a little bit less stressed and more confident about your way of going about this. So, first of all, before you even get started looking at graduate schools, I would say figure out a way to organize this information so that you go in with some intentions about what you're doing this for and why, intentions on what kind of program you're looking for, and put together a spreadsheet. And this is important because as you get started, you're going to want to put in the name of the university. You're going to want to put in like due dates for when the applications are going to be due, what kind of things are looking for in your application, just so that you have a much better way of organizing this information because it can get overwhelming, especially if you're planning on applying to multiple programs. So I'll share with you what, just a screenshot of what that might look like to put together a spreadsheet. Um, but once you have a good system of kind of evaluating different programs, understanding the costs, associated with each, you can start to really, get into a rhythm of what will work for you. You'll have a better understanding of what is going to be important, and what you're watching for. So then once you have your spreadsheet and you know what you want and you're understanding the different programs, researching them, maybe connecting with faculty or staff members to ask more questions, then that's where you start actually understanding what is involved in your application. So, in a typical graduate school application, you're going to have various components. First, there's going to be just your regular application, and that's like your demographic information. That's like where you fill in all the details about your, academic history, your work history. This one, if you know you're going to be doing this over and over and over again, maybe have a Word doc where you have the answers and you can just copy and paste. That has been helpful for me. Also, you're going to be turning in your transcripts with your application. Some schools or programs are going to be asking for unofficial transcripts, which is nice. Some of them are asking for official ones. And so there are a couple steps that you want to be able to be aware of when you're getting your official transcripts to be sent to whichever program you're applying for. And then you're going to have your three, typically, letters of recommendation. Sometimes it can vary, or references that you're going to need to be very careful about who you choose. I did an entire video on this one because this is a bigger deal than I think most students think. They are, maybe last minute doing this, or they're asking kind of someone who doesn't really know their qualifications, and it ends up really like ding their possibility of getting into that school. So don't ding yourself. Like you want to make sure that you do everything you can to find the right people, give them enough notice, make sure they have the information that they are going to need in order to offer you a strong recommendation. Then probably the crown jewel at heart of any application for graduate school is going to be your personal statement. And you do not want to skimp on this. This is where you can shine. And this is where you want to spend, I would say, the majority of your time making sure that you're doing everything you can to knock it out of the park. I'm going to do another video completely about this personal statement so that you're able to really understand the components. But what you want to make sure you're doing is communicating your capacity for this work. You want to share your motivations. You want to make sure that you're talking about any struggles or a compelling story that is allowing for you to be where you are now. You want to speak to what contribution you want to make ultimately in the field that you're getting into, as well as, and here is like something really important, you want to be able to speak to why you want to get to this program in particular. And the reason for this is because you're going to want to stand out from all of the other people that are applying for the program. And if you're sending a generic personal statement to them, people can read through that immediately. You want to be able to say, I know your faculty, this particular person, this particular person, this particular person are doing these types of projects. I'm really fascinated by this. This is exactly what I want to be doing, or whatever it is to demonstrate, number one, that you've done your research, that you know what that program is doing. And two, you want to make sure that you're trying to match your strengths with what they're offering. And also, do not use AI. people can read like I can tell when my students are using AI and it is so annoying, but you'll be completely dismissed, you know. So you want to make sure you write this from your words. Maybe you can have AI help you draft something, but make sure that it doesn't do the AI thing. And we all know what that means. Just do your best to speak from your core. You want to be authentic, you want to be articulate. And you really want to spend time crafting the strongest, most compelling argument while what that demonstrates why you are the right person for this program. Okay, then you also are going to submit your CV or your resume. Make sure this is up to date. And also, just like you're doing with your personal statement, if you know that this program is looking for X, Y, and Z in their candidates, make sure that you highlight X, Y, and Z in your resume. If you're using the same resume that you submitted to the job that you got in high school, like that's stale. Like use best practices, do a little research on what you can do to have a really strong resume. And I would say with both your resume and your personal statement, if you can have other people that are going to help you to reflect back to you, like maybe what's missing, maybe what doesn't make sense, you know, going through to just be a mirror to you on what you can do to possibly improve these two important components of of your application, you're going to do yourself favors, which is why it's important that you do all of this as in advance. Like you do not want to procrastinate your application. And I think so many students make the mistake of being like, oh, you know, I don't have to apply for another 8 months. Start now and make sure you have your spreadsheet all fleshed out so that you know exactly when those deadlines are and then work backwards. So if you know you have to submit that, you know, document in November or the application in November, make sure that you have it all the way done like mid October at least, so you have buffer time to get input, to really fine tune everything. Um, and even that's cutting it close. So, also, some schools are going to require that you turn in samples of your writing. Some schools are going to have you take some sort of exam, you know, like the GRE. Make sure you know that. That's got to be on your spreadsheet of what exam they're needing for you to be able to get in, so that you can schedule and study for and do that exam and make sure you do it. You know, make sure you're putting in a lot of effort to study, because these can be tricky. I know this one from personal experience. Okay, and then finally, what you really want to do with this is do more research on getting the right support team, on making sure that you've got the right timelines, on, you know, what would it be like to live in that city if you're going to be moving. Like don't just look at the school, but look at kind of ecosystems of where you might be able to thrive. Also, in this field, there's a lot oriented around who you know, not what you know. And so if you have connections with people, if you know someone that is teaching at a school, like make sure to leverage your connections. And as always, and I say this in almost every single video, be sure to be grateful and express gratitude to the people that are supporting you through this process, because it's a lot, it's a big one. And the more that you can ensure that there's a reciprocity and someone feels like that you see that they've helped you in a certain way, they're probably going to be more likely to help you in the future. So this is where you definitely need to leverage your network, and ask for help and set a realistic time frame and don't procrastinate. And those are some of the best tips that I know to approach the application process for graduate school. Hope this is helpful.